This video is going to be going over my battles at the Pokemon Go Fest Great League Tournament. For those of you that are longtime subscribers of SwagTips, the time has finally come. You get to see the Swagman in action. Before we get into my team, I just want to do a brief overview of the general meta. So I whipped up this infographic prior to Go Fest. It's a little sloppy, what can I say? But big thing to take away from it is that Azumarill is the center of the Great League meta, especially the open Great League meta. It's just such a bulky, powerful threat. Not a lot of things can take advantage of Azumarill, especially if they don't know what Azumarill's full moveset is, because it has 3 threatening charge moves. You can only bring in 2, so what's the second move? And I actually do want to do a video covering Azumarill and its dominance in the Great League specifically sometime in the near future. So if you're not subscribed to SwagTips already, I suggest subscribing to check that out. Other potent threats in this meta also include Deoxys Defense Form, Medicham, and Jirachi. I feel like they kind of operate in the same space since they are all Psychic-type Pokemon, sharing joint weaknesses to Dark and Ghost-type attacks. I know Medicham takes neutral from Dark, but you get it. So as far as team composition in GoFest, I expected every team to be using one of those 3 Psychics, Azumarill, and then something to back it up. Most likely one of the generally solid metal type boys up there. These guys are pretty phenomenal, to be honest. The reason why they are separate from this battle diamond here is because they have generally like neutral matchups against most good things in the Great League. They're just smooth operators. And then down here we also have a shout out to the Haunter, which is kind of like an anti-meta pick, because it has a lot of vulnerabilities and it's relatively like paper thin as far as defenses go, but it can handle most of the Psychic type Pokemon, you know, not named Confusion Jirachi, and also has a positive matchup against the Master Azumarill. The thing that makes it kind of flaky though is that against everything it can go down pretty quickly. As far as my team composition went, I chose to go with the Haunter because I expected to see a lot of the Psychic boys and Azumarill in the field, so I felt that that could give me a general dominance over my opponents, and also rolled in with the Azumarill because of course I did, and then closed off the rest of my team with the Probopass. To be honest, I feel like Bastiodon would have maybe worked better for my specific team just because I was a little bit flaky on the defenses already with Haunter, but I didn't have the resources for a Bastiodon. In fact, the Swagman powered up a Haunter, an Azumarill, and a Probopass on site before doing the event because that's just how much I've been holding out on investing in a really solid general Great League team. And then as far as my little joke here, the 3x Azu meta, someone did actually DM me telling me that they ran 3 Azumarills. They ran with 3 Azumarills and they won. So the 3x Azumarill meta is alive. I am so glad I did not face that team. Now, if you guys are curious, where are the Mud Boys, Ryan Swag? I felt the Mud Boys were kind of a risky pick, to be honest, overall, because Deoxys Defense Form, Medicham, they have a generally solid matchup against them. Azumarill generally beats them as well. And then there's the threat of the Grass-type Pokemon, and like the Mud Boys just roll over to that. So I felt that the Mud Boys were a extremely risky pick. And then as far as Umbreon goes, another solid pick that would warrant being on this graphic. I felt that its matchup against Medicham and Azumarill also kind of like kept it off. So this isn't to say that the Mud Boys and Umbreon are bad picks for the Great League. I just felt that they were a little bit too risky. Pro players, whip them out if you want to. But most people might want to just stick with this formula here. Now, enough about that, let's get into my battles. So here we have our first victim, Taken Bulbasaur. Now, you might be sitting at home thinking, Ryan Swag, why are you going with Medicham? I thought you said you're going to be using Haunter. Well, Haunter only works well against meta Pokemon. Against the general random opponents, Medicham is much more consistent. So before my fight, I kind of felt out my opponent a little bit. I asked them if they're going to be participating in the Open tournament. They said they don't know what that means. I asked them if they know about the Silpharina. They said they don't know what that is. So in my mind, this guy's kind of a noob, doesn't know what the good Pokemon leagues are, what the good Pokemon are, and I think that the Medicham will serve me much better than the Haunter. With that call in mind, my Medicham is immediately greeted by Azumarill. Absolutely meta Pokemon that Medicham does not want to deal with. So I have to switch to my Azumarill right away, putting me on the back foot as far as the swap out game is concerned. My main goal is to absolutely maim, cripple, take out their Azumarill because none of my Pokemon really want to deal with it. Probopass kinda can, but at the end of the day, does not want to deal with this guy. So no expenses paid, trying to keep my Azumarill alive in my quest of taking out their Azumarill. If you're wondering why I have the Hydro Pump, it's to better deal with Steel-type Pokemon. The Ice Beam is generally the better move, but I wanted a more consistent matchup against the Steel types that I'd be running into, which pays off in this particular situation. Overall, I'm not too sure why my friend here swapped to the Fortress because Fairy types resist Bug-type attacks, but that is a little known fact. Not many people are aware of Fairy types resistances, but overall, definitely carrying the advantage here and opting to finish him off with the bubble damage so I can have excess energy to help just secure the win against my opponent's Azumarill because it's just the one thing I don't want to deal with. Now this move here is kind of a head scratcher going with the Ice Beam. Not sure why my opponent did that. Maybe it was a misclick. Not too sure. But I don't pay too much mind to it. I'm here to win. I'm here to use Play Rough. You can Ice Beam my Azumarill all you want, man. Now that both shields are down, I'm basically in the situation to get killed. Now here, I attempt to do what's called a pro gamer move, and swap immediately before they're able to use their charge move, but my counting was a little off. I've never really tried to count before, and they still nabbed my Azumarill. But it's no big deal. Bringing the Probopass, the Nose of Doom with the electric type attacks, bringing the Doom to the Azumarill, and allowing me to take the lead. The final Pokemon that they have is the Altaria, and now it kind of dawns on me why they were also aggressive on my Azumarill, because Altaria absolutely does not want to deal with an Azumarill, but Probopass secures the win. Altaria literally cannot touch this guy, and I take my first victory. But yeah, because of the duality of the Steel-type Pokemon and Azumarill, that's basically the absolute reason why that I feel like Altaria is not super viable for the Open Great League, despite Altaria being an absolute boss. Little Easter egg here for you guys is, yeah, that is my 23rd ever win in the Great League. Basically, when PvP came out, I was super into it, spent like 500,000 Stardust, started battling my friends, and then, you know, the school semester started. So between working full-time, going to school, doing YouTube videos, writing for Game Press, and having limited Stardust resources and little time to get more Stardust, basically haven't done a whole lot of PvP battles. So yeah, I actually powered up my whole team and unlocked their moves the night before. So yeah, all brains, no brawn. Well, here's the brawn, guys. And of course, my phone beeps right now. And here we got victim number 2, the Floppy King. Kind of funny, met the Floppy King in line, saw that I was wearing my Game Press t-shirt, and tried to keep some distance between us because he didn't want to fight a player that was actually good. So much to his chagrin, I was round 2, quite possibly my hardest opponent of the day. Member of the Sylph Road 2, and if you want to check out his Twitter, link in the description to that. So of course, being part of the Sylph, absolutely leading in with the Haunter. I'm not playing any games anymore here. Almost got burned in the last round too, against someone that I thought may have been a noob. So, Medicham, goodbye. So leading in, Floppy King sends out a victory bell. And this is actually kind of surprising for me. I thought Haunter had a positive matchup against grass types, but all the simulations I ever did with Haunter were against Venusaur, so I was not prepared for the power of the Razor Leaf just mowing down my Haunter, and this put me at an extreme disadvantage against my opponent. So here is one such situation where having, you know, matchup knowledge kind of important when it comes to PvP. So I go to my Probopass, since it's the only Pokemon I have left that doesn't just get completely obliterated by Razor Leaf. I need to take this thing out immediately or I'm going to get taken out. Knowing this, of course, the Floppy King burns his second shield, protecting the almighty Razor Leaf of Doom that is about to crush my entire team. Fortunately, Probopass is very quick on the draw when it comes to charge moves, which is why I like it quite a bit. And I finally get the victory bell out of there. God bless. And of course, he brings in the Metachamp to just wail upon my Probopass. I mean, oh my god. So of course, I switch to the Azumarill to try to take that guy out, and my opponent brings in the Bastiodon. Now, this is a situation where had I not had Hydro Pump, this would be it for me. I would have lost this fight. Fortunately, I had kind of the foresight or the meta sense to go with the Hydro Pump instead of the Ice Beam, just because I did not want to deal with Steel types ruining my day. So kudos to me for not getting my day ruined by going with Ice Beam, and definitely kudos to the Floppy King for running such a powerful team. Now, because I do have the Water type fast move, I decided to finish him out to farm some extra energy, secure the win. But the win is pretty much all there as it is with how the fight has played out. Had Azumarill not had Hydro Pump, that would likely be it for me, but good job me, once again. Just gonna keep patting myself on the back here. Yeah, Floppy King messaged me on Twitter saying that he's feeling kind of, second guessing his fight, regretting it a little bit, said he wished he were to swap sooner or something like that. But I feel like he fought pretty valiantly and carried the fight to the best of his ability. I was pretty sure I was going to lose with the victory bell wailing on me, but packing the Hydro Pump on my Azumarill basically saved the day. So don't feel too bad, Floppy King. If you're checking this out, your team was definitely the hardest one of the day, and you played really well. Now next up, we have our third victim of the day, CJ Mack, or also known as XX. CJ Mack, XX, wants to battle. So I lead in with the Spookers, and he sends out Azumarill. So at a base, you might think that this is a matchup that's in my favor because I do have the Sludge Bomb, but because Azumarill is so thick and its bubble is so strong and I'm so paper thin, this is a matchup that is in its favor. So what I have to do is either bait it with my Shadow Punches or use the Sludge Bomb and have them think that I'm doing the bait with the Shadow Punch. So here, I try to trick them out. Maybe they think I'm going to go with the bait. I didn't. I went with the Sludge Bomb and just deleted their Pokemon. Next in, they send in Muck, and I just start wailing in with the Shadow Punches. A lot of people feel like Shadow Ball is the superior move, the Legacy Shadow Ball for the Haunter, but I stand the Shadow Punch. With Shadow Claw and Shadow Punch, you just have super rapid charge move action going on here, just completely wailing on your opponent, forcing them to bait shields, so I feel like it generally carries the advantage. If you stand the Shadow Ball, that's on you, but if you haven't given Shadow Punch a try sometime, I think you might want to take a look at it. So I switch into my Probopass here because I'm confident that I can just beat them with my spark damage, or at least force them to switch and farm up that energy. They switch into a pretty surprising Pokemon though. I did not expect to see a Lucario here. So I send out a Thunderbolt in a vain attempt to either cause a bunch of damage or make them bait a shield, and then I immediately switch into my Azumarill. This is a matchup that Azumarill has the advantage in because it is a counter user, and I choose to not go with the shield because I felt that they didn't have the Shadow Ball yet. So lame for me for counting improperly, but they have no shields. I'm not risking anything else. The shield is coming up. It's probably Power Up Punch. It's Power Up Punch. But I go with the Hydro Pump to just completely seal the deal. I don't know if Play Rough is enough. Hydro Pump definitely is. And I take out the Lucario. Then from there, the battle is won. Overall, I'd say CJ Mack was my easiest opponent of the day. I don't feel like Muck was the best pick for this particular cup overall, and Lucario was kind of a questionable option. Overall, it wasn't a terrible team. My opponent probably could have made better use of their switching and their shields, though. Getting the early lead with the Azumarill, just getting deleted, was pretty key for my victory. Then we have our final victim, Pokédad number 2. And interesting thing about this fight is that I had a huge mistake that I made early on in the battle that arguably could have cost me the match. However, because Pokédad number 2 also made a mistake in the battle, things swung back in my favor. So definitely some good learning points all around for people in this final matchup. So starting out, I go Spooky, and I finally see my first Deoxys defense form of the day, the matchup I've been waiting for. So of course, Dad here decides to swap out right away and bring in the Altaria. Me being me, I go for the risky Sludge Bomb. I don't think they're going to shield it. I think they're expecting a light hit to bait a shield, so they get hit with a heavy hit to just bait their HP down to nothing. And here is where I make my mistake. Now, overall, Azumarill beats Altaria. Azumarill has a positive matchup against Altaria. But in this particular situation, it would have been way smarter to bring in Probopass, because Probopass can take out Altaria with just using spark damage. It has nothing to fear. It actually double resists the Sky Attack, but my Azumarill here does not resist the Sky Attack, so I am forced to burn shields to keep my Azumarill alive, where had I used Probopass, my spark damage could have waited out the swap timer and just brought me to victory with very little to worry about. So this was a huge mistake, cost me my Azumarill, and could have cost me the entire match, especially considering the spicy pick he's bringing in here. Man, he took a while selecting it. Here it is, freaking Raikou. I was not expecting to see electric type Pokemon in this battle, especially at the end of the tournament here in the final round. So this is not a good situation to be in, to be perfectly honest. And I'm doing everything I can to just dish out damage to this thing and take it out of the fight so I actually have a chance of winning here. Now, if you're wondering why I went with the Play Rough instead of the Hydro Pump, I wanted to get my charge move off before he got his charge move off, and that's just not what happened. And as a result, I'm kind of getting put on farm here for even more energy for its Raikou. So as a charge move locked and loaded to take me out immediately, man, things were just not working out for me in this fight. So Raikou goes in with the Shadow Ball. I take it out with the Nose of Doom here, and he brings in Deoxys. Now, important thing to note is this match, at this moment, is now my opponent's. Probopass cannot beat Deoxys. Deoxys can farm it for energy with counter damage and take it out, but here is where my opponent makes their critical error. They use their charge attack. Doing this allows me to swap to my Haunter with no fear, so I immediately seize the advantage, go in for the Shadow Punch, take him out, and take the victory. Now, if you're wondering what just happened, why am I saying my opponent would have won? Well, the thing is that had they just farmed Probopass for energy using the counter damage and then queued their charge move for when my Haunter turned in, there would be no way for me to protect my Haunter and get the win. However, because they used their charge move, taking their energy down to 0 or near 0, they would not be able to queue up a charge move to delete my Haunter, so I brought in my Haunter to punish that mistake and delete them. Overall, PokeDad number 2 did really well, so, no bad there. But with that mistake, I was able to make up for my early game mistake and take the win. So that's it. Those were my Open Great League battles at Pokemon Go Fest, securing me the medal. Now, if you're curious in watching me actually battle my opponents IRL, or if you just want to see my time at Go Fest in general, that video is coming up in the next couple days here, so subscribe to SwagTips to check that out. And if you're sitting here thinking like, oh man, this Swag guy kind of knows stuff about PvP, I want to know more, well then subscribe to me for that. If you got any questions on what took place here, or questions on the Great League in general, I will comment below, let me know what's up. And if you were in the tournament at all, what team did you use? And how did you do? What was your hardest matchup? Comment below, and let me know what went down. That's about all I gotta say, so peace.